What's up, B Squad? It is your boy JB, and we are here today with a new show, you guys. So this is SWV and Xscape, the Queens of R&B, Season 1, Episode 1. Episode is titled, Let's Make History. Do I think they're gonna make history? I don't know about that one. We shall see. This is a 6-episode series, so we got 5 more episodes, you guys. But yeah, before we go ahead and get into this review, you guys, if you guys are watching this video or any other video on the channel and you guys aren't yet subscribed, do me that favor, do me a solid favor and stop taking me out on this date and having me pay for it at the end of it. You guys can do that favor by liking the video, subscribe to the channel, turn your post notifications on, sharing the video. And with that out of the way, without further ado, let's discuss SWV and Xscape, the Queens of R&B, shall we? All right, you guys, so this show right here is so nostalgic for me because it just took me back to my childhood, growing up, listening to SWV, Week, So Into You, Rain. The laundry list goes on, right? Then when you got Xscape, you got Just Kicking It, you know, Little Secret, Understanding. Oh my God, it was just so, you know, right here, Human Nature with SWV. Oh my God, you guys, I felt like I did, because, you know, so for me, I grew up in the 90s. So when Xscape came out, I was about 3 or 4 years old. When SWV came out in 91, I was only 1 year old. No, I was 2. I was 2 years old in 91. So I grew up with that music because I had cousins who are a little bit older than me. So I've told you guys this before. My cousins used to have, you know, my aunt and uncle at one point. They lived in a 2-story house, and we had it was a basement, right? And we used to have little house parties down in the basement, and we would just be having fun down there. And mind you, I'm like 5 or 6 years old, and I'm down there with my cousins who are teenagers, and we partying and having a good time, right? Because one of my older cousins, she would babysit us. So we would be down there just with them, having a good old time, right? So SWV, Xscape, Brownstone, all of them, they're in my catalog, and I just hold a special place in my heart for each group, right, from the 90s. So we find out, you know, we talk about the early part of the episode. They were just introducing us to both Xscape and SWV, you know, basically telling us how the groups broke up. You know, SWV got together, signed with RCA back in 91. From the jump, you know, Coco was like, they didn't like me and I didn't like them. And they were like, you know, Coco's ego became the 4th member of the group. Then Coco went solo. And at a certain point, Coco came back to Lily and Taj. They got together and they've been touring ever since, right? Xscape, you know, Xscape got together, signed with Jermaine Dupri under So So Def. You know, they had their success, but they broke up in 1999. Then they came back together in 2017 because someone tried to sell their life story. I wonder who that person is, and I wonder if he is ever going to mention it. Carlos King. I really do wonder if Carlos is ever going to mention that, because even when Candy was doing her interviews last season after Real Housewives of Atlanta, he never once mentioned it. And I'm wondering, because you guys know Carlos reviews Bravo shows now, right? He's doing Real Housewives of Potomac. I'm wondering if Carlos is going to do Real Housewives of Atlanta. I damn sure know he ain't. I'm pretty positive Carlos is not touching this show. But that's neither here nor there, right? So we all know the issues with Xscape, right? We know that, you know, Xscape broke up. Latasha tried to go solo. We'll get into that in the season, I'm pretty sure. But, you know, they talked, yeah. That's really pretty much how it started out, right? So then we see Candy and Tiny. So Candy and Tiny were in the studio, and we hear legs and hips and body. Let's get them, girls. So Tamika came down as well. It's so interesting that both Tamika Cotto and Tamika Scott, but we call Tiny. It's so interesting that there are 2 girls in the group named Tamika. So the producers at one point, they wanted to bring up the rumors that, you know, started on the radio station by Tamika Scott back in 2007 when she was talking about the group broke up because of Candy was sleeping with Jermaine Dupri and his daddy. And Ooh, I just, you guys know that that had been an issue between Candy and Tamika for years. I don't necessarily know if I would have forgiven that. Kind of like with Portia. I don't know if I would ever, if I were Candy, I don't know if I would have ever been able to forgive Portia or Tamika, because y'all both said some things that were outlandish and could destroy a person's career and reputation. But it is what it is, right? They all cool. It ain't got nothing to do with me. I couldn't be bothered to give a damn, right? So we find out in this episode that there's still some issues in the group, and currently there are still issues within the group because of this damn show. And the one thing I want to say is the show is good for reality TV purposes, right? But when you think about these women's real lives, it's not good, because they are still dealing with the ramifications of this show. So I feel bad for them, and I do want them to figure out what the real issues are. Maybe sit down with a mediator or a counselor and try to figure it out, right? So we find out that, so they did a show in Vegas, right? So Tamika and Candy shared a trailer, right? Because it was an outdoor show. So Tamika and Candy shared a trailer, and Tiny and Latasha shared a trailer, right? So after the concert was over, Tamika and Candy were not able to get into their dressing room because it was locked, right? But Tiny and Latasha were able to get into theirs, and Latasha ended up leaving, but Tiny stayed behind. I do want to say, when it comes down to that whole situation, it really ain't that big of a deal, right? Could Latasha have stayed? Yes. Was she obligated to stay? No. So they got into it via text message, right? And somehow, so it was an exchange between the sisters, right? So anybody could, basically, Tamika said, nope, yeah, Tamika said, anybody who left can kiss her ass, right? And then Latasha had to come back about kissing her ass, right? And then Tamika had to come back to that saying, if you had an ass to kiss. Y'all, what cracked me up was them reading the text message, and what really cracked me up is, I'm gonna cue it in here, is Tiny laughing, talking about, hell no. Tiny is so me. I'm gonna put that in here right here.
You had an ass to kiss. Hell no.
Because that shit was funny. That was funny, you guys. So Tiny tells Tamika that Latasha feels as if Tamika was body shaming her. And I was like, how was that body shaming? No shade to Tamika, either Tamika, right? Tamika, Tiny, or Tamika Scott. But they've had plastic surgery. Their butts are not real. And I love both of them, but they butts ain't real. And that's what Tiny said. Maybe she's just mad because she didn't go get the surgery. That sounds like a bit of a personal problem between Latasha and, herself. And maybe even Rocky. So Candy just wants them to basically kind of make up so that they can, get to working with each other. And again, like I said, I feel like in order for them, because I was watching, you guys know I don't typically watch Candy speak on it, but I just happened to, it showed up on my YouTube today, and I actually watched it, right? And you guys know that Mona is producing this show, right? Her and her production team, right? And Mona said something that was really valid when it comes to this group, that when it comes down to Xscape and their drama, there's a difference between them and SWV. SWV has figured out a way to work through whatever issues they have, and they're able to come together and just do it for the music and for the fans. With Xscape, they do stuff for the fans, but at the same time, it's like you're just putting a bullet, you have a bullet wound, right? All you're doing is putting a Band-Aid over it, hoping that it's going to heal. Yes, it'll heal, but that bullet is still there. You're not doing anything about that bullet. The bullet is just still sitting there and is eating away at you, right? Remove that bullet and then close it up. That's really that's really what they need to do. And I feel like they might need to sit down with the mediator. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Let's pause here and move forward. So we see SWV. So SWV, they are still out there touring. They are going to different countries, even countries where they don't speak English, but the people know their music, right? So SWV is getting to the money. So their manager, Dan, talks to them, and he's talking to them about working with Xscape. Now, you guys know Xscape and SWV did the verses. I think that was last year, right? No, no, it was 2021 when they did the verses. It was 2021 when they did the verses, and wow, it was 21 that they did the verses, but they filmed in 22. But so they did that, so they want to just kind of basically ride out the momentum. It is so interesting knowing all the shit that they're going through. And all last week they were doing press interviews, and I was looking at those press interviews. I'm like, I know the issues between, and the interesting thing when it comes to these groups, right? Because back in the 90s and the 2000s, social media wasn't around, so we didn't know the inner workings of what was going on in the groups, right? You could assume, you could speculate, right? Like the situation with 3LW, we've heard about Keely throwing a bucket of chicken at Naturi. With Destiny's Child, we heard about this stuff with Matthew Knowles. We didn't see this stuff play out on social media, but today we see his stuff play out on social media, and it's really interesting the differences, right? So Xscape is not Xscape, but SWV is cool with it, right? So then we are so this episode, I think we mostly got an introduction to each of the girls of Xscape, right? Because we met Latasha and her husband, Rocky. I tweeted this last night. Are we going to discuss on this show the situation with Rocky and the fact that Rocky was alleged? This is alleged because I still don't know what is what. Because y'all remember last year, there was a girl that came out and said she was having an affair with Rocky, said she was pregnant, right? Then she came back and said she was hacked, but then she came back out and said she wasn't hacked, right? I was like, are we going to address that situation at all? I don't know, right? But Latasha and Rocky have been together for 27 years. Latasha, I don't know if you thought that telling that y'all's sordid love story was going to, I don't know what you was expecting. The fact that you had a boyfriend, you left your boyfriend to get with Rocky, right? So she said she met Rocky through Candy, and Rocky, she's like, ooh, should I say this? So Rocky was working with R. Kelly, and they were at rehearsal one day. Her boyfriend was there. Rocky went up to her boyfriend and told her boyfriend that they were not sleeping together, but he wanted her to be his girlfriend and he could leave. And I was like, so the way you, never mind. If Latasha like it, I love it. It ain't got nothing to do with me, honey. It ain't got nothing to do with me. So Latasha is talking to Rocky about potentially touring with SWV and Xscape, but she is a little reluctant, a little apprehensive about doing this because of her sister, of the beef that she has with her sister. And let me go back to this situation. Did I say that it was petty? Did I say that? Because if I didn't, I meant to say that. I think it's petty on both sides. I just feel like it's petty on all sides, right? Again, I know I said this, Latasha wasn't obligated to stay. Could Latasha have stayed? Yes. Did she have to stay? No. Like, I'm not gonna be upset if, like, I'm not gonna be upset if you say, oh, I gotta go, and I'm trying to get in my dressing room. I'm like, you know what? If you gotta go, go. It's fine. We'll handle it, right? So then we are introduced to Tiny's family, right? Those kids have grown up. Even little Eris. Now I remember back in now I didn't watch the Friends and Family Hustle like that, but the Friends and Family Hustle. I just watched the Family Hustle, and it's just so. Right after I got out of prison, right? The kids have grown up. Eris, she's such a cute little girl, right? So Tiny was talking about the challenges of being a working mother and a wife. And I was like, ooh. And Bravo and Mona's team, they definitely brought up the cheating. I mean, they brought up all the articles of T.I. cheating on Tiny. I just don't understand why she stays with him. Ain't got nothing to do with me. But hey, let's pause here and move forward, you guys. All right, you guys. So next up, we meet Tamika's husband, who I think he's a, I forgot what his name is too, but he is a, basically, I think he's a bodyguard, right? I think she said New Edition. I believe she said New Edition. And he's getting ready to go out to Vegas, and she's talking to him. Now, Tamika, I don't think we really need to hear that story about, you met him working on a Tyler Perry production. Ooh, that says a lot in itself. So, you went to his house, you talking about you went in the bathroom, you came out with a thong on, and he said, he was like, put some clothes on, but you said his little friend was saying otherwise. I was like, girl, I did not need to hear that. My ears did not need to hear that, but okay, girlfriend, go off, right? So we then move over and we see this scene. So Taj is getting everybody together. So she's getting Xscape together as well as SWV. And she wants to throw out the idea that they do work together, right? I would love, I know I saw this on one of the interviews that I saw that Xscape did, right? Somebody was asking if one of the questions was, would there ever be an Xscape and SWV album? It would be nice, but I don't think it's gonna happen. I think with both, even when you mix in both of those groups, there are so many egos together. You got Tasha's big ass ego, and I shouldn't have said that because I think Tasha has an issue with the big one, with that. So Tasha's overinflated ego. Let's clear that up. Tasha's overinflated ass ego, as well as Coco's overinflated ego. I think that'd be a problem in itself right there. You got two people with big voices. I think that'll be a big ass issue. I think Latasha and Coco would be a battle between the two divas. I really do believe it would be a battle with those two, because I feel like when it comes down to it, like Lily, Taj, Candy, Tamika, and Tiny, I feel like they would be cool, right? But I just feel like if they tried to do a record together or even an album together, I just really feel like it would be an issue between Coco and Taj. Not Coco and Taj, but Coco and Latasha. Let me know what you guys think, right? So everybody is on board with doing whatever, doing a show together, right? They talk about their ideas for the show, but then you got Latasha's ass over here who just got the stank face. I'm like, God dang, Latasha, fix your face. Like, that was my whole thing with Latasha. I just really wanted Tasha just to fix her face because she was just giving stank-a-dank the entire time, right? And then she's like, well, we have some internal issues. Okay, I get it. Y'all got internal issues, baby. When it's money on the line, let's get to as the girls on Baddies say, let's get to the bag. As the kids say, let's get to the bag, right? Let's get to the bag. Let's make the money, honey. Like, why are we stopping the bag? Because granted, I know that there's issues with the sisters, and we're gonna talk about those issues in just a little bit. But the one thing that I will say though is, like I said earlier, SWV has gotten to the point where they can work together, might not like each other, but for the sake of their fans, and we gonna get out here, we gonna go on this stage, we gonna sing together, get off this stage, I don't rock with you, you don't rock with me. And that's fine. But Xscape is something different, right? So, but I do love the fact that Lily really spoke some true facts to, Latasha, but I think it fell on deaf ears, to be quite honest with you guys. So, and in this particular episode, I don't know why, I saw this all last night. Everybody was saying that Candy is not the issue. When did it, now, I don't know when people ever said Candy was the issue. You could always see it was Latasha. Latasha is the issue. And I think the biggest issue with Latasha is the fact that I think Latasha at one point wanted to go solo, and I think that their career just didn't go the way that she planned it to go. And whereas with even Candy tried to go solo, right? We know some of Candy's solo songs, but she didn't have, a huge success as a solo artist. Where Candy and Tiny succeeded was they got with a producing team and they started writing music. And that's where their Grammys came from. So it just is what it is, you guys. So we see that SWV, they flew over to Johannesburg to perform for some guy's 50th birthday. See, that is smart right there. Put your issues to the side and make the money. You ain't gotta like each other, but for the sake of y'all, I mean, y'all can just do this shit until we are dead and gone, right? And even when we dead and gone, y'all's legacies will still live on. Like, oh my God. So let's pause here, and I guess we'll go ahead and wrap up the episode. All right, you guys. So I do want to say one thing before we go any further. Some of these interview looks are horrible. Tamika, I don't know what this Rapunzel braid is in her hair. It was ugly. Then she had this one hairdo where the hair was looked like went into a mohawk, but it was sticking up. I was like, oh my God, what is that? Then Candy with these pigtails. I was like, oh my God. Trash that look. It was horrible, right? So we see Candy and Todd, they're talking, right? And I have to agree with what Todd said, right? Because Candy was talking about the issues with the sisters, right? And I agreed with Todd that y'all, the thing is, with Xscape still has issues from the 90s that they're bringing with them into, y'all, it went from the 90s to the 2000s to the early 2010s to now the 2020s. Y'all are bringing decades-long issues with y'all. Y'all are not addressing the issues. Y'all need to sit down with somebody, a mediator. Don't get Dr. Sherry. Don't get Dr. Jeff. Hell, get Iyanla. Get somebody that'll sit down with you guys, that'll be impartial, because we see how it's going to go. We see how it goes in just a few minutes, right? So I'm going to go ahead and move over to that scene. So Tamika and Latasha are at their mom's house, right? And Tamika feels as if their mother has a favorite, and that favorite is Latasha. And I absolutely agree with her. I do believe that mama has a favorite, and I do believe it is Latasha, because Tamika came in, right? And Tamika told her mama, she actually went to go hug, Latasha came in for a hug. She's like, oh, we hugging today? She's like, girl, we always hug. She's like, no, we don't. And they rolled the foot showing the last time they met with SWV, she didn't hug her, right? And she's like, we family. She's like, oh, we family today. She said, we always family, unfortunately. I was like, oh, wow. She said, there's nothing I can do about that. That's what she said. There's nothing I can do about that. And Tamika was like, mama, you didn't hear that? And she was like, Tamika, that's what upset you? And I was like, but Miss Gloria, if you want to say that, because I feel like what Miss Gloria was trying to say to Tamika was that is just basically trivial, right? But the shit that Latasha is upset about is the text message where she said if you had to ask to kiss. That's trivial as well. So then she also mouthed to Latasha that Tamika is just jealous of her. And I was like, ain't that fucked up? Like, I didn't like that. I wasn't here for that, Miss Gloria. Miss Gloria, no. No. So then she at one point told her that, told Tamika that she needs an Academy Award. I was like, no, Latasha needs the Academy Award, right? So then Tasha's talking about how she felt body shamed. I have to agree with Tamika, girl, she was not body shaming you, right? So then at one point, Tamika brought up the fact that, Latasha and Rocky took $30,000 from her, right? So she found out from Candy's, I think she said she found out from Tiny's mom that they were, that they were getting some royalties from something, right? And it was in tune of about $30,000, right? But she says that she never got it, and so she had somebody look into it and come to find out that it was, Latasha and Rocky who had cashed the check. And then the mom was like, cut the cameras. I was like, why do you want to cut the cameras, mama? Why are we cutting the cameras? To me, it gave, now this is just my personal opinion, so I'm not saying that this is what happened. This is alleged. So nobody tries to sue me. But for me, I feel like maybe, allegedly, if Rocky and Latasha took that money, mama benefited from it some way, somehow. Mama benefited from it. You can't pay me to believe anything otherwise. But I want you guys to jump down in the comment section and let me know what you guys thought about this episode of SWV and Xscape, the Queens of R&B. Like I said, it's a 6-episode series. So it's very limited. It's a limited series. But so far so good, right? Like I said, with this shit with Xscape and their drama is still ongoing. I don't know that this helped them at all. But let me know what you guys thought about it in the comments. Subscribe to the channel, turn your post notifications on, share the video, and until the next time, you guys stay safe out there. Take care of yourselves. Be blessed, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.